Doctors, Shawnsteel at your service. Today we have a new law firm. It's called Steel and Eisner. Don't worry about it. Steel is still here. Get it? Okay, in the meanwhile, we're doing the rules of steel. Ooh, that's a thought. The rules of steel and Eisner. Okay, we do have 50 rules of steel and Eisner. Notice it says steel. But we've asked Eisner to give some of the benefit of his vast experience, knowledge, and excellent training. And we may be revising this, but it's pretty much the immutable life truths of personal injury based upon a few decades of a lot of work. Let's talk about number 13. That's one of your favorites. It certainly is one of mine. And I'll tell you what it is. Number 13 rules of steel is gaps in care easily sink good PI cases. Oh boy. So yeah, we get a case. We talked that a client sends us pictures of the car. It's devastating. I mean, the car is an accordion. It used to be a nice, long, slender sedan, but now it's a piece of junk. And oh my goodness, it was terrible. Right? You could tell it's a high-end accident. And then we asked them, well, you know, who's the doctor? How are you doing? Oh, they hadn't seen a doctor in 6 weeks. I mean, you've had this calamitous accident. You couldn't even drive it afterwards. And you got a lot of complaints, and now suddenly you're feeling a lot of extraordinary situations. So what do you do about it? Well, doctor, this is a serious problem. If we don't answer the question about, well, what were you doing those 6 long weeks not taking care of yourself, the case may be a non-starter. So we got to be very careful about it. Sometimes they are non-starters. So let's do it logically. Here's what we need to know about gaps in care. Usually, if you get hurt, somebody gets a hammer, smashes your finger, you get to the emergency room, you're writhing in pain. Doesn't matter who caused it, if there's any money in it, if it's a good case or a bad case, pain usually requires immediate assistance. So that's what most people in the jury are thinking. That's what insurance companies are thinking. That's what you and I are thinking. So be careful about the overall prejudice. Secondly, what about, if you got hurt, what did you do about it? Did you get hurt in that accident? If you felt nothing whatsoever, you're a very unique human being, because most people in a violent collision where there's tremendous damage to the vehicle, usually that energy transfers into the body. So I'm assuming there's something going on. So what did you do? Did you get over-the-counter medicine? Document it. Did you get massages? Document it. Did you lose time from work? Prove it up. Yeah, what about your activities of daily living? Did you quit going to the gym for a few weeks? Document it. So how was your lifestyle changed because of the accident if you didn't see any doctors? So in the meanwhile, you need to ask the patient. You need to have a nice heart-to-heart talk, and the patient intuitively knows what you're doing. They know. Why are they getting care so late in the game? They have to justify. Most patients get it intuitively, and they usually have a pretty good idea what the process is. Because why make a claim? Why just fabricate a claim if it's going to be doubted unless the patient's sincere? Keep in mind, doctors, you and I, have the burden of proof. It's not that the other side has to disprove it. We have to show affirmatively this patient got hurt. They had other things going on in their life. They may have been traveling. They may have had a sick mother. They may have had another serious emergency in their lives. They couldn't get to the doctor the way they wanted to. We have to build a story that makes sense, that will justify it. So here's what we do. You do all the things and list it carefully in your report, in your SOAP notes particularly, absolutely crucial in your SOAP notes. And then you do your base examination. In the examination, you do what you're supposed to do, the neurological, orthopedic, objective test, and see what's going on, what the ranges of motion or limitations are, what else is going on with the patient organically. And from there, you're going to say, well, how is it different from the date of the accident? So you got to kind of build that story. Was it getting slowly worse, or is it as intense as it was? There's some stories there. And you always have to keep an extra signal out for malingering cases. And you know all the malingering tests. We don't want some fake coming into our office trying to build up a case. You take a case on a lien, you get $5,000 worth of work in it, and then eventually everybody says it's a fake case, and then you don't get paid. It's a very expensive seminar. I don't think we've ever been to a seminar that costs us $5,000. You don't want that kind of a seminar because it's expensive and it's brutal. But look at some other issues. What about the patient's history? I bet they got an interesting history. Most human beings do. Pre-existing issues. Did they ever have surgery before? Well, surgery really is an attack against the body in some fashion. You don't really recover. You don't really get a whole lot better. I mean, you do in many respects, but the body is compromised. So you have a trauma following the surgery. Even if the surgery is 20 years earlier, I could see the problems engaging and the delay of treatment. You thought, your low back was going to be okay, but it's not that stable. Look at prior injuries if they didn't have surgery. Maybe they had a big fat football injury while they were in college, big fat concussion. That kind of stuff can sneak up on you years later. Look for the objectives, and that's the golden seal. Find me some objectives that demonstrate the patient has a real injury. In our practice, we've had plenty of patients who were not good at initially. They thought the pain would go away. They thought it'd be okay. They'd take a bunch of aspirin, Tylenol, everything would be fine. And then 2 years later, they are having epidural shots. Some of them have surgery. And you know what? When you're willing to get those shots and you have to have surgery, gaps in care don't look that important. But keep in mind, it's a big issue, and that's something that you have to deal with on an affirmative basis, and always talk to your lawyer about that. I'm sure they'll have some good ideas, as long as they're pro chiropractic. Thank you.